How's it going, everybody? My name is John Gabe. This is my co-host.
Cade Washington here. We're the Truth Podcast. You know, we investigate stories and look into them.
Oh, yeah.
For the truth.
Oh, yeah. Because as much as we don't like to admit, our government tends to lie to us a lot. Time and time again, it's just a pattern, it just repeats over and over. And, people just blindly accept, just believe whatever they hear. And that's really dangerous because that's how sheeps, are made. That's how sheeple, people who don't believe for them, think for themselves, rely on themselves. It creates a weaker society. Your sense of self, your values and everything are legitimately up to the people in power. So whatever they say, you believe. If you believe, if you believe in everything, you fall for nothing. How's that go? Hang on, because I can just edit all this shit out, whatever. I'll let it on, but it's just like if you...
it's very accurate, John Gabe. You got to come up with your own ideas and support those with your own research, because in this day and age, we don't know what we're intaking. We don't know what the media is pushing.
Oh, yeah.
Propaganda, obviously. So I would say look into your own stuff to come to your own solutions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, in reality, like, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Very true.
And it's tragic. As tragic as it is to say this, legitimately, the situation that happened with, like, Charlie Kirk and whatnot, there's just so much information, so much different proof and different, like, viewpoints. Some people were arguing one thing, some videos were showing something, while others videos showed something completely different. So it's like our leaders essentially have told us one thing, but now we have all this proof and all this evidence that claims something else. And that's where I want to get into, what really happened on 9/11. We have not been told the truth, legitimately. So we can start off just like an example. So on June 8th, 1967, this was in like the middle of the 6-Day War, which is happening like out in the like Mediterranean, that area,
yes.
Like Middle East pretty much. So the USS Liberty, an American warship, was just like viciously attacked by Israeli forces. Fighter jets, torpedoes, just like hellfire. Killed 34 American sailors and injured 171 more. The soldiers were ordered to not speak on it. Like the American sailors who survived, they didn't know what to do because they knew that if they told the truth, they would be facing prison, court-martial, which is like it's like military type, like court system, and even like loss of all benefits. Despite this being like the worst attack on a U.S. Navy ship since World War II, Lyndon B. Johnson shut the Naval Corps of Inquiry down. So like he shut it down. He was like, no, like this is not something that we're going to talk about. This is not something that we're going to look into. We're not discussing this, point blank, final. So he had also blocked key intelligence witnesses, people who survived and seen. He classified most of the evidence, and he accepted Israel's claim that it was a case of mistaken identity, which is just a lie, like blatant lie. You cannot mistake a U.S. warship.
Did they say why they attacked the ship?
Well, they were part of the 6-Day War, so they just said that it was a mistake. They thought that the U.S. Warship was somebody else's. I didn't, necessarily look into who they thought we were, but because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you cannot mistake, your submarines because they launch torpedoes, the fighter jets. You cannot mistake a USS warship, like a U.S. warship, for any other nation's warship because they just don't resemble. And also, I don't know what country, waves huge flags of the United States on their vessel except the United States. So that was just a blatant lie. And then Johnson was later quoted by his own senior staff as saying, "I don't care if the ship sinks, I will not embarrass an ally." Crazy statement. And I mean, you may wonder like the truth of this, and if it was just a rumor, it's not. The proof, like the concrete proof, is in the Moore Commission findings. Testimony by Admiral Thomas Moore, because he was the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and turns out NSA declassified all the documents. The Moore Commission, which was like released in 2003, was a panel of like the top U.S. military leaders, including Moore to Joint Chiefs. He was the head of Joint Chiefs. It released a major report that said the attack was not an incident, or was not an accident. Israel knew that the ship was American. The U.S. government participated in a cover-up. Survivors were silenced, and a real investigation just never occurred. And genuinely, this is one of the most credible official statements that contradicts the U.S. government's like public story, because they told the public that it was an accident, they didn't mean to, that's why we're not going to pursue, we're not going to push this. But now we have this concrete evidence that they lied to us, and it's not like a little white lie that didn't hurt anybody. It killed 34 U.S. soldiers and injured 171 others. Now, tell me this: why are we allowing those individuals who signed their lives, for the country? They went out there to protect us, to keep our freedom free, and we're trading them like poker chips. This all goes to show that the American government is more than willing to kill, punish, and lie to its own people for the sake of others. So why blindly trust them?
Why are they such a protected country? They say they're our most valuable ally. I think it comes down, ultimately, race thing. I think they don't like the brown people down there, and
yeah,
I think it stems from that, and they are protected.
Yeah,
to the T.
What other nation can attack the United States and get away with it the way that this one nation apparently did?
Say Saudi Arabia made the same mistake as Israel. What would happen?
Dude, they would be glassed over. Like we would legitimately, I think within a couple hours, we would like most likely mobilize, I don't know, maybe 500,000 soldiers, and just absolutely decimate their entire country, because 34 lives were taken, 171 other lives were harmed. I mean, that just blows my mind. But I mean, we can get into the 9/11, because we were told many things that happened on that just dismal September morning, but like none of it adds up. Like all the news reports, all like these papers that came out, legitimately, it's just like one thing contradicting another, just like BS on top of BS on top of BS. I mean, you getting like firefighters who are on the scene saying one thing, and then you get the the NIST. These government agencies, these places that we're supposed to trust, they're saying one thing, but now you get like eyewitnesses, people who are at the scene, people who test the ground, saying other things. Especially when like a substantial amount of like other information was just shut down and slandered. Getting publicly shamed, getting posted in, people calling these people crazy, calling their degrees and these things just phony, like just publicly shaming and slandering all other evidence except what the official record was put. And given that example that we just got with the USS Liberty, they were this quick to kill and lie.
They're willing to lie at any time to cover face.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing to do it.
They are.
What makes us think what they're telling us now and what they told us then is true?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, history has proven time and time again that leaders can and often do lie to their people. You know, they lie, kill, and cheat their people. So it's like, why do we happen to be different? Especially when there's evidence that proves that we're not different. It just makes no sense. So I'm going to talk about these 3 events that honestly just need to be looked into. Or I guess just like we can talk about and re-look at them. So it was the Pentagon, right? The events and the collapse of the World Trade Center Building 7, and, you know, some key details of the collapse of the Twin Towers themselves, because that's, you know, the major points of 9/11. So at the Pentagon, 9:37 in the morning, September 11, 2001, the American Airlines Flight 77 struck the west side of the Pentagon, near where the Pentagon Memorial is, like all the names and stuff like that. And the government statement said that the aircraft was on a descending high-speed corkscrew approach that ended with an impact at roughly 530 miles an hour. This was said by the National Commission on Terrorist Attacks upon the United States. So the official account IDs Hani Salith Hanjour as the hijacker pilot. But interestingly enough, right, which so they said that this guy did the descending. So he's going down while doing a corkscrew with a huge, massive plane at 530 miles an hour, which it was also said that he was perfectly level with the ground at the end of this descent. But listen to this. So Hanjour's flight training record and his instructor statements tell a completely different story. So multiple trainers and flight school employees had came out and described him as a weak student who struggled with English, had trouble with basic maneuvers, and required repeated instruction. One staffer even said that it took him 5 hours to complete an oral exam that normally takes 2. It had also said that he could barely fly a Cessna. A Cessna is those small planes where it's like two passengers. So he could barely maneuver and fly one of those. So the guys like our age, the guys in college who are training to be pilots, they're flying these little Cessnas. They're spending thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, or I guess it's like 1,000 hours that they have to be flying in order to even get, to the next level. So he could barely fly these small, lightweight planes, easily maneuverable. You mean to tell me that this man hijacks? So he I think they had said that he had a weapon. Was it a knife or something like that he snuck in? So you mean to tell me he snuck a knife in? He calmly sat down in his seat, passport in hand, which, I mean, there's no camera footage of them, even boarding the plane or anything like that. So, little passport in hand, him and his buddy, and, they take off a couple hours into the flight. They're, these 2 Arab, men, grown men, which, I mean, I've never seen, grown men being able to gain access into a, the pilot, to be able to speak with the pilot. But let's just say in this instance they did. So Hanjour, this guy who can barely fly a Cessna, he knocks on the pilot door and he's like, hands up, I'm stealing the plane, whatever he says, right? And you mean to tell me that he takes this plane, this huge, heavy, hard to maneuver plane, and he knows exactly what he's looking for on the flight, on the maps. He knows exactly where he needs to get at. He goes on and like you said, descending high-speed corkscrew approach. I've seen like a visual representation of what it looked like. I mean, imagine like a whirlpool. That's pretty much what he was like. Imagine he's like in a whirlpool and he's going around. That's pretty much what he did, just on a larger scale. And he was like perfectly parallel with the ground, and he landed at the right exact time in order to not collapse with any trees, any debris, nothing. It was a perfect, cold, clean impact at 530 miles an hour.
Makes no sense at all.
No.
Going from a Cessna to the plane that he flew
Yeah.
to the Pentagon. And not only did he fly it in, the way he did it.
Yeah. No, I mean.
And how he got there. How do you know exactly where to hit?
Right. I mean, and the thing is that the part where he hit was where the government workers were, they were investigating the $2.3 trillion that had disappeared. It was like the day before 9/11, so on the 10th, I guess, they were working on the disappearance of $2.3 trillion. And just so happened that this was the exact place.
It's almost like it was a missile.
I did see, and I honestly, it says that there's evidence, saying that it did strike the Pentagon, so eyewitnesses. But again, eyewitness, I just don't trust that, because it's very easy to say, say I'm part of an organization, and my higher up tells me hey, I want you to go make a public report that this and this happened. And I'm like, well, I didn't see this. All right, well, you're going to do it or you're fired. You're going to do it or you get put to jail, which is, kind of consistent with, kind of our last example that we saw.
Was there any footage captured?
20 years later, came out this foggy, pixelated, camera that came from one of the guardrails, the little guardrail things that have the camera to capture around. The only footage that they had, and it only captured 1 or 2 frames, which again, to me, that's 20 years later, they released this old crappy footage that looks like it was legitimately recorded on a potato. And they mean to tell me yep, that's the evidence right there. That's all you need to know. And then what was it also? Damaged generators and light poles. Again, because critics point to the unresolved issues, the relative smallness of the visible hole compared to a 757 wingspan. So pretty much, I was looking at this the other day. The wingspan of a 757 don't quote me on this, but it was again, it's a huge number, right? It's long. It's
200, 300 feet.
Right. So let's say 200 feet, right, across. The hole wasn't even 7/8 of that. It was a quarter was missing of the total length, which it just these inconsistencies, these things that just simply do not add up, and it seems like they're just trying to sell us something.
I'm reviewing the footage right now.
Yep.
And it happened so quickly. You can't even see the plane. All you see is side view, 9:37 a.m. Street view.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 frames.
Yep.
Flash, boom.
Yep. It's legitimately it's a flash. And
now, I'm not saying it's not a plane. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's pretty weird.
It is.
And how can we trust our government after they continuously lie to us? It's very inconsistent.
Yeah, they just prove to us again and again that we can't trust them. But like sheep, we just fall back into it over and over and over again. So, a take home really would be that a careful reader. It's not even a careful reader, just a wise person, a person who, a truth seeker like us, to really recognize both realities, the physical evidence, of the impact and the unsettling gap between the evidence and the portrait painted by the instructor testimonies and the inconsistencies with the report and contrasting evidence found. You have to be able to look at both sides, so both the evidence that proves one thing, the evidence that proves another thing, and you have to use your discernment to really figure out, like, which one of these is true. Because end of the day, there's always two sides, to the same story.
Always.
But if you read between the lines, you can, like, find the truth. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody what the truth is. I believe that I know the truth, and I believe that you know the truth as well. But my job, our job here, isn't to, get anybody to believe something different than their view. I'm not here to convert anybody into believing anything or anything like that. It's simply just stating some facts that haven't been, released or, like, talked about. You know what I mean? People just blow over them, but in reality, these are quite important. You can't just skip over the truth. Or like these different concepts, and just makes no sense to me.
It's always good to look at every outcome.
Yeah.
What could have really happened. And we're not here to persuade you. We're just here to tell the full and complete truth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The facts, they hold back all the time.
All the time.
And they release them 20 years later. No one's going to look back at them.
But we do.
We're here today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we do, because, again, man, it's just one of those things. It's like we are taught from a young age that, our government never lies to us. They have our best interests in mind. We're told to trust them. And just time and time again, we're showed not to. And so, like, it sucks whenever I see, like, other people like me, who aren't these congressmen, who aren't these, rich millionaires and billionaires and whatnot, who have no say, who our only say is our vote, and it sucks to see people just like me, and they're just lost, they don't know the truth, so they just go with whatever they're told, and that's a lot of people. You know what that sounds a lot like? Sounds like zombies. Sounds like mind-controlled zombies. And then you look around and you see these people, and they just, like, behave in certain ways. And it's like, could it be linked to low IQ?
It's the blind leading the blind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's one of the goals of this is to help people open their eyes, be able to see. But we can dive into Building 7. Was located, it's like a 2.5 like blocks away, so it's far from the buildings. And the official report, because it was never struck by a plane, the official report claims that the building was damaged by fallen debris. So, plane hit the tower, some debris flew.
Metal pillar.
Right. Yeah. Some debris flew 2 blocks away, and then landed on this building. Right. And caused it to burn for hours as these uncontrolled fires spread across multiple floors. So I guess the sprinkler system miraculously failed. And it created a fire-induced thermal expansion, which caused critical column failures, which led to a progressive collapse. I'm just pulling this straight from the NIST. And it was approximately at 5:20 p.m. But, oddly enough, the actual collapse dynamics raised quite a bit of suspicion. Because if you begin at the start of, like, the visible movements, right? So if you were to pull the video up and you look at it, beginning at the initial movement, so whenever right at the split second when the building moves, so it's ready to collapse, it descended. So World Trade Center descended top to bottom for about 2.25 seconds at free fall acceleration and speed. So 2.25 seconds through 8 stories. Mind you, this is a steel and concrete building. It took 2 seconds to go from 8 stories high to gravel because of a fire. Something like just never happened ever. Like, this is like the first time in essentially history that because of a fire, this building collapsed at free fall speed. And my biggest question is, all right, so say say this fire is true, right? There's this huge raging fire. Miraculously, the extinguisher system doesn't work, and again, it would still not collapse at free fall speed. If it were to collapse because of structural damage, it would slowly, part by part. Again, with the pancake theory, so like what they were saying with the towers, it's impossible for it to collapse the way it did. If it's like structural damage, what happens is it like pancakes. So it'll start from the top floor, and it'll hit, slow down, and then it'll crumble. So that next floor will crumble. It'll crash down. The next floor will crumble. It'll crash down. So it's like a step down. Just bam, 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 bam. It's not boom. Everything fell at free fall speed. Just impossible.
So the real question is, what is burning? What is so hot that it just disintegrates the steel, the metal, the concrete in that building so quickly?
And I mean, they can't say it's jet fuel this time, because that was the the reason that they claimed that the buildings went down the way they did. Why the fire burned these thick, like huge steel, like hardened steel, was it support beams and all this? They say it was jet fuel, but I mean, did this debris happen to be a tank of jet fuel, and it, again, miraculously landed 2 blocks away, and specifically in this building? Again, do you know what World Trade Center held? Do you know what they had in there? The WTC-7?
A lot of money. Movement of money.
It was movement of money. That's because it was just like office spaces, and they had the tracking of the movement of money. What they also had was the backups for the 2 towers. It was stored in that building. So they were tracking the movement of money, and they had all the backups. Again, what a coincidence. I'm sure that if you were to sit down and like work out the math behind it of like these coincidences just happening, just chance. Like, I want to say it's less than like 0.001% chance that just all these coincidences, and more. I say 0.01 because I know, we'll get to the rest of it. So moving on. All right, it fell 2.25 seconds, through 8 stories.
I'm looking at a NIST.
Yep.
And they said, the 2.25 seconds. And for this to happen, all structural supports had to be removed precisely at the same time. How does this happen on coincidence?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it make more sense for where the fire started, right? So again, like the hottest area where it started, it'll spread, it'll get hot, but the core of this fire, it would make sense if the core of this fire, it collapsed around, some of the concrete just got too hot, cracked. Maybe the steel, let's say it was like some low quality, cheap steel that they used, which I highly doubt, but let's just say it is.
Yep.
That makes sense there. Some of the building collapses, a little bit, that like hot spot. But for there to be a uniform collapse with zero resistance, it's like you said, the sudden removal of the supporting structures below, which is a fact constantly seen with controlled demolitions. Legitimately, take the video of WT7 collapsing and take a video of a controlled demolition, a successful controlled demolition. It's the same thing.
And the fact that it took 10 seconds for the collapse to hit the ground, it was done in such a precise and definitive way.
Yeah.
To where,
again, it's odd. And then
it's weird. You don't know.
I was right here. I'm just gonna pull this up just so that you know that I'm not just pulling this out of my butt. Right here. Oh, I guess I could. Where is it? Hang on. because they had found traces of a distinct chemical, a chemical well known for, just like melting metal and pretty much just cutting through everything. And, again, it's strange how these chemical analysis of the dust, happened to find thermite. Thermite burns at 3,990 Fahrenheit, from 3,900 to 4,000 Fahrenheit. Steel burns significantly less at that. And I mean, so what? So from 3,900, so essentially 4,000, right? 4,000 degrees is what the temperature that thermite burns at. Steel, though, it begins to melt at 1,500 or 1,000. Yeah, around 1,000 degrees. So, we have this chemical that burns three times harder, and then you find these traces of it. Again, it's just not consistent with the, with the truth. So,
just it's lacking a lot of information. Why was thermite found on the scene?
Right.
That's not something that just lays around in a building. That's not something that's in a plane. That's not. It seems a little suspicious to me.
100%. I mean, I completely agree with you. I don't think that, if you're going to your desk job, on a, regular week morning, you're not just going to carry around pounds of thermite with you. I've never done that before. I've never shown up to class with thermite in my backpack on accident. Especially not enough that it can be, pretty easily found around the crash site. Say somebody did need thermite for something. I mean, in that collapse, there's no way they're going to find it, you know what I mean? But it was enough that just about, where they check these metal structures. I mean, and talking about these metal structures, dude, have you seen the pictures of like these huge, I'm talking, these steel beams are easily huge. Like 3 feet wide and with the depth of like 2 feet. Like, these are huge thick beams, and they are sliced clean at a 45-degree angle. Do you know what that is consistent with?
A precise cut doesn't add up.
No, it's
not
possible. Controlled demolition.
It's not a coincidence.
It's not. At this point, it's not.
You got to start asking questions. Why were some high-ranking officials in the World Trade Center not there that day? Yeah,
the owner. I forget his name now, but the owner, he had breakfast at the building every morning. Just about every single morning, he'd eat his breakfast at the building. Well, lo and behold, it's the 11th. He's not there.
I got a report here. Just months before 9/11, the World Trade Center lease was sold to Larry Silverstein. Silverstein took out an insurance plan that covered terrorism.
What?
Specifically terrorism. After 9/11, Silverstein took the insurance company to court, claiming he should be paid double because there were 2 attacks. He won. He was awarded $4.5 billion.
Holy
So you're
crap.
telling me he wanted double. He didn't care about a single life that was lost that day. Yeah. All he cared about was getting his double payment because there were 2 attacks, not one.
And again, like a crazy, thing to think about, because this was never heard. Again, it was just never, you didn't take out insurance on terrorism. That just never happened before. How would he know? What are the chances, again, that 6 months prior, he just so happened to be like, you know what? I really need insurance on terrorism. And again, this isn't free. This isn't it's a free program. This insurance company's like, hey, We're doing a Black Friday sale. You buy insurance for fire, we'll hook you up with terrorism as well. No, like I'm sure this man is paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to cover for terrorism, which was something never seen.
Everything I'm seeing is very inconsistent with what the government is saying.
Yeah.
I have another report from Captain Russ Wittenberg from the U.S. Air Force.
Okay.
So highly regarded, highly respected.
Yep.
The government story they handed us about 9/11 is total BS. Plain and simple.
Oh, yeah.
There was absolutely no possibility that Flight 77 could have descended 7,000 feet in 2 minutes, all the while performing a steep 280-degree bank turn before crashing into the Pentagon's first floor wall.
Oh, yeah.
Without touching lawn. Now, this just touches on the inconsistency that the government is telling us and how 35 years later, he has something to say. Because the people at the top will keep other people quiet for as long as possible until they eventually tell their story.
Right. And, I mean, the thing is, this isn't like some, guy who sits on his computer all day and, messes around. He's in the Air Force. I mean, he flies. He was a pilot, wasn't he? A fighter jet pilot, or was it one of the big planes?
It says right here he flew a plane. He flew for United Airlines for 35 years and retired in commercial pilot. So went from the U.S. Air Force to American Airlines, which is the airlines that it happened to.
Right.
So he is very familiar with the plane. Mm-hmm. Knows it like the back of his hand.
Yeah. And he knew it was BS. He knew, like, I'm sure, and I'm very positive that on the day it happened, he saw that and he was like, what? Because, I mean, this guy, like you said, back of his hand, he knows the ins and outs of this plane. He knows how far he can push before it breaks. He knows that a guy who is inexperienced, who can't fly a Cessna. Dude, like the weight difference, it's like thousands and like what? How much fuel is it every time they refuel? How much? It's like what? Like 80 tons or something like that, or like 100 tons or 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, they get enough fuel just in case something happens.
Right. So again, these are huge and heavy planes compared to these little tiny baby planes that weigh nothing. And he couldn't fly a small little plane, but he pulled off this miraculous stunt.
It's not adding up.
Just not adding up. Just not adding up. So we can move on to the North and South Towers. So the official report was pretty straightforward. The aircraft impacts removed the fireproofing and ignited widespread fires. The heat and the structural damage caused floors to sag, exterior columns to buckle, leading upper stories to collapse onto lower ones, and initiating a set of progressive failures caused by gravity. So just in that, there's just so much like wrong with it. I remember I was looking at the other day the floors. So they said that the fire loosened up the thinner structural so the floors, right? But what they kind of failed to mention, because they said it caused the exterior columns to buckle, which just is impossible. One, because the exterior columns were it was like 3 or 4 times thicker. And so even if they were to sag, so I mean, think of a wall, and then put so I guess the best way to describe this would be you got your stud on the wall. Imagine you drill a hook onto it and you start to pull, right? Or say you get a machine or whatever to pull. What's going to happen the more that you pull? So you're pulling, so it's representing the sag, right? The floors are getting hot, they're starting to sag, and they're starting to pull on the outside structure. I'll tell you what's not going to happen, right? That little hook, I'm not saying a huge hook, like a regular little hook. That hook is not going to cause that wood to collapse in and of itself and, cause the top half of wood to come crashing down. What's going to happen is I'm going to keep pulling and pulling and pulling until just a little outside of, the hole is going to give way, and, the hook's going to come out. It's the same concept. So you have these huge, thick steel beams, and these smaller, thinner, weaker ones are attached to them. And as they sag, they begin to pull, pull, and pull. And the report says that these small, little, weak, little support beams, they managed to pull down. They managed to cause it to bend to the point where it buckled and collapsed on itself. These huge, thick ones. Again, it's just inconsistent. Just lies. Just straight up BS.
And the real question is, why are they lying to us?
Right.
What are they hiding?
Right. What is so important? What is so wildly important that you're going to sit there and you're going to lie to the American public about so many lives? So many lives. I mean, God, I'm like, we've seen on TV ever since we're little, people jumping from these buildings. The people who are stuck above the fires, jumping to their deaths because that was better than burning to death. Dude, imagine the people who burned. Burning to death is one of the worst ways that you can go. Dude, they say that, like, people who survived these like crazy like burn cases where it's like their whole body, like 30-degree burns, like should have died. They said that they felt their eyeballs melting before they died. Like,
very unimaginable pain that
unimaginable.
No one should have to go through that.
No, especially not, your own people. Dude, like you're saying, what are they hiding? What is so important that they can't tell the truth? What was the purpose of this? Again, what the point of this is just, we need to be able to dive deeper. We can't just take whatever, they say and run with it. Dude, eyewitnesses to North and South Towers, eyewitnesses reported loud bangs and secondary, keyword, explosions in the towers during the collapse sequence. First responders, so like firefighters, they described sounds that they believe to be explosions. This is from the NYFD testimony that were compiled. I've seen a video of this firefighter talking about some of the firefighters that had gone up there. They were, so the elevators were down, obviously. Plane hit, and, these first responders get there, these firefighters, some stay on the ground,
yes,
and some are going up. So the guys that are going up, they're going floor by floor, right? And each floor they get to, they get in on the radio, they're like, check, all good, all clear. And, God, dude, I wish I remember this story better, but pretty much it was like, so they were like, everything was good, and they were also checking for like the structural damage, right? Because whenever a building is damaged to the point where it's collapsing, there is huge cracks. There's like you can obviously, like, these guys are looking for, it's an obvious sign. There's no like hidden cracks anywhere where, if it goes a little unnoticed, for a couple too many minutes, boom, everything falls. No, there's huge noticeable cracks. So they're going through these floors and like, check, all's good, everything's clear. And then they get to the fire, and they're pretty much saying how like the fire was manageable, right? Like, this fire isn't gonna go anywhere. Nothing's like, nothing bad's gonna come to this fire. Like, yeah, terrible, plane crashed, but like the fire wasn't insane. They could take care of it. Couple minutes later, dude, comes crashing down. So they went like 80 stories or something like that, 70 something stories up these stairs, checking every single floor. So they started, and then also on top of this, there were people at the bottom, at the base of these buildings, doing the same thing. I mean, amidst the people panicking, running away, running for their lives, there are people checking, seeing the structural integrity, of this building, because there's something you have to do. But no matter what, though, it still happened to collapse. Another point is that many of these photos and videos show the towers collapsing pretty much almost mostly into their footprints, with these huge dust clouds and widespread ejection of debris. right? So again, consistent with falling straight into itself. Again, no small collapse, no tipping over. Say if the foundation happened to have catastrophic failure. They didn't tip anywhere, didn't fall over like what you see whenever these buildings have these structural damages. They'll tend to tip over. They'll tend to, a piece of it, like a good chunk of it fall off first, and then, the others kind of come down as well. No, just straight into itself.
Just in a news report of a high-ranking U.S. general.
Impact of a jet. From what I understand, the outer skeleton of the building, the outer columns was like a fishnet, and you had these inner core columns, which was substantial, thick steel beams to withstand 4 or 5 times what the loads were. The engineers always over-design a building. No steel frame building has ever collapsed before or since 9/11. So that should say something right there. And it said that Building 7, it was a progressive collapse, that it was caused by fire. But progressive collapse, unlike the Twin Towers collapse from the top down. That's a progressive collapse, floor by floor by floor. But if you look at the videos of Building 7 collapsing, it collapses uniformly. It's collapsing from the bottom. The building stays intact all the way to the bottom of the ground, and you could see the sides caving in on it. For a building to collapse uniformly, which the videos show, all the load-bearing columns would have had to have failed simultaneously. Now, fire doesn't act like that. I came across an analogy of the Twin Towers, and if you could visualize cast iron stoves stacked one on top of each other. The stoves up at the top, yes, there's fire and they've been damaged, but the stoves on the bottom, they haven't been damaged. Okay. So the structure underneath all of that is intact. So it's impossible for a building to collapse near free fall speed and increase
without a controlled demolition.
You're running into the path of most resistance. So something else is going on. I don't believe that it was just the planes or the fires. I think that, and they examined the dust and they found what they call thermitic material, which is like an explosive incendiary, which was in the dust samples, and that's documented. There were reports of the buildings were undergoing an extensive elevator renovation in the 2 or 3 years prior to. All kinds of workers, they had access to the cores of the building. And on the day of the attack, the elevator company would not assist in the operations of the elevators. And the elevator company it subsequently went out of business. And a couple of years after that, the information is out there. At one time when I was heavily engaged in trying to get a new investigation, I definitely felt threatened. I felt threatened for my family, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. You have sworn testimonies from firefighters regarding explosions in the building. They were suppressed. Just somebody making a statement, especially from firemen and police, if they make a statement, I heard an explosion, that's grounds to initiate an investigation. The firefighters, a bomb went off. This is their own words, made that day. They just ignored it. Just like Building 7 and the impact.
Thank you, General. As you can hear, he was scared himself.
Oh, yeah.
A high-ranking U.S. official. So this doesn't stem from the mid-core of the military. It goes to the very top.
Oh, yeah.
And the secrets are upheld.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking here because he was saying how, some of the things didn't add up. So some independent groups like architects and engineers for the 9/11 Truth, so that's like a group. They, just like he said, some features that they argue are inconsistent with a simple collapse caused by gravity. Like a vertical acceleration, like the lack of visible large dislocations before the total collapse. So the bowing of the building, the stacks. And then reports of molten metal afterward and the chemical analysis of dust claimed to find thermite residue. Just like he said, dude, we the facts are in front of us. The truth is in front of us. Yet to this day, you will be slandered if you even point out that there's, other possibilities. You're not saying that, oh, you did it. No, she did it. It was our government. It was this group of people. It was that. No, I'm not, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the fact that there's this incredible amount of evidence, and for whatever reason, if you don't believe the official report made by the government and these government-funded agencies, I mean, you're just as bad as the hijackers, which kind of sounds familiar, you know, with other events in our history where if you don't believe the, you know, the official government report, you're just as bad as those who committed that, you know, crime. Or again, though, like,
You know, they try to say what this is a conspiracy theory.
mm-hmm.
But if a conspiracy theory is doing your own thorough research and looking into it with your own mind, not going off what the government says, what CBS, CNN, Fox News, what they say, because those are all propaganda machines.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, they want to take the U.S. side and put out that information.
Right.
So why not do your own investigation yourself and research?
Yeah, I mean, because just as in, I don't know if you've ever seen anything about Sun Tzu's Art of War book. He talks about like all these like strategies and like ways of living. It's a pretty good book. I mean, it's a honestly recommended read. But he talks about divide and conquer, and genuinely, one of the best ways to conquer a large group of people is by dividing them. The same way that we are divided. I mean, there is such a disconnect from the people who are right wing versus left wing. You know, there's such a disconnect. Like it's genuinely like, I mean, I'm you know on social media quite often, and I see, you know, these things, and it almost seems like I'm being pushed a narrative. I'm being pushed to believe a certain thing so that I can side with these people, you know, versus those people. And that way it creates a division, because you keep feeding one side one thing and then you turn around and feed the other side a complete different thing. Dude, now you've got these two people who are strongly passionate about the thing that you're feeding them here and strongly passionate about the things that you're feeding them there. There will be a constant clash. So you feed them whatever you want here, feed them whatever you want there, and now they are doing the same thing. They have a they're following the same path. It's just said different. So it's like, at this point, it might as well just be two wings of the same bird. You know what I mean?
And it's the same thing. They're looking up to one individual, perhaps, you know, and whatever he or she says usually goes. They defend them. They get in fights with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Pointless arguments when really divided nation can't stand.
No.
So, yeah, we're going to have our differences. We're going to have, you grew up in the country or you grew up in the city, so you're going to have different values, right? But at the end of the day, everyone is a human being, and they are equal. Mm-hmm. That's how it should be treated. And when we look at these 9/11 reports and what the officials say, the government, and what retired generals, pilots, bystanders, firefighters, what they say, it completely contradicts what the U.S. told us about what happened on September 11th.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, I'm just going to, you know, reinstate this just one last time. This podcast, and I've written a paper on it. I'll most likely link it to this. But so this podcast and the paper, it's not an attempt to blame any nation, agency, or group. It is plainly and simply just a call to re-examine the inconsistencies and the gaps in public explanations so that accountability and public trust can be restored. We have many historical examples. The USS Liberty, you know, case among them, where evidence was obscured, official narratives were later revised or challenged by independent, you know, inquiry. So, like on 9/11, you know, multiple official agencies produced long, detailed reports that together form one backbone of the public record. Yet independent analysis, survivor counts, and technical reviews identify areas where more transparency, peer review, or data release would strengthen public confidence. Asking for full disclosure is not the same thing as accusing. It is a civic responsibility. We have a duty to ask these hard questions. We have a duty to pry further, to know the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. That is legitimate, that is our duty as the people of this government, And again, a pattern just emerges, when we look carefully, that these official reports provide coherent, technically credible explanations for what happened on 9/11, and yet there's these stubborn inconsistencies, pilot training records that seem to disagree with the Pentagon flight path. World Trade Center number 7, the free fall collapse, the visual and physical clues from the Twin Towers collapse that have not satisfied a significant portion of the public. And, we have these, so many, records that just prove to us over and over again. And again, this is a theme with this podcast. It's just these inconsistencies. It's legitimately a pattern. Just happens over and over again. Just these lies, things just don't add up. History teaches us that governments can and quite often do hide inconvenient truths. It also teaches us that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. As of now, the records are quite mixed, strong in some areas, incomplete in others. Citizens have the right and the duty to ask these hard questions, demand better publication and independent replications of studies, and press for the God's honest answers until every reasonable question is fully addressed. It's only fair, for the public to wonder whether or not we have been told the whole truth about what happened on September 11th, 2001.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It almost makes it hard, to believe anything at this point. Dude, so many studies. We could talk about some, some things like the vaccines. What else? Dude, Pearl Harbor, or even events now, dude, the whole Palestine, situation. Again, not pointing fingers at anybody.
What's really going on? Because it's not like we have a camera that we can just watch videos on what's going on specifically. We can watch videos that the country releases or the U.S.
Right.
It's not something that we can just see for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's very questionable what's really going on down there.
Yeah, we just have to believe what we're told. And, what are the chances that they're lying to us like they've always done?
Yes.
But that can be a topic for another day. I believe, we've covered, some important events, claims and stuff that they said about 9/11. And, I challenge you guys to just go out there and find out the truth for yourself. And not just with, 9/11, not just with, everything that, whatever. It should be everything. You should not just accept what somebody tells you. You should not look at one side of things. No matter, if you're right-leaning, left-leaning, you're centered. It doesn't matter what political stance you take, whether you're a male, you're female, whatever it is. You should be going out there, finding out the truth for yourself, because if you don't do it, somebody's going to tell you what to believe, and you are going to be tricked.
At the end of the day, do you want to be a sheep?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you want to be a wolf?
Yeah. It's legitimately kill or be killed.
And it sounds corny to say, but it's true. You're going to follow the wrong person, and you're going to end up like them, clueless,
Yeah.
blind, not knowing what's really going on.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else.
No, and I mean, people tend, they have like such a drive to be on like the right side of history, quote unquote, that they will often overlook just like these, like just mounds and mounds of evidence, or just like these crazy things that are happening, because they believe they're on the right side. They can never be wrong, which is why it's so difficult to get people to, wrap their head around, some different concepts, because you spend your whole life believing one thing, chances are you're not going to be wrong. If it's something that you've been taught since kindergarten, I first learned about 9/11, I think it was around, I remember I got to the U.S. in 3rd grade, but, I remember the little 3rd grade classroom rolling out, those real carts and those old big block TVs, and guess what? 3rd grade watching, the footage. So it's like this is something that's been instilled in us for our whole lives.
They teach it at a young age, and it's off the teacher's knowledge, and you got to look at where does the teacher get their knowledge from, which is probably from a newscast, Fox, CNN, like I said, CBS, and where are they getting it from? Are they getting supplied this information from the government? Mm-hmm. Are they doing their own intel research, independent research? Highly doubt it. They have such a wide and big audience that the power and the control always goes to the people. And if you can control the people, you can have ultimate and complete control.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like you were saying, look at where they get their information from. Dude, start looking into who owns all the books. All the school books, K through 12, the Macmillan or whatever. Dude, one company owns all of the school books that are supplied to us, or like, company of a company. So again, like, I believe that we have been fed a narrative. We have been fed information, told that it was true, and we have to run with it. And if you disagree with it, now you're a 9/11 denier, and you're,
conspiracy theorists.
Right, conspiracy theorists. And they like to throw that word around, again, with the slandering. They like to slander because that takes the credibility away from you.
Takes the power.
The power.
Everything.
And, I mean, again, I'm not telling anybody how to think. I mean, if you could take one thing away from this is... take 2 things away from this, actually. 1, the government can, will, and has lied to you. And 2, find the truth for yourself. Don't be told what to think. You want to add anything?
Some final takes. I say some things to take away from this is to always go out and question things. Don't always take someone's word for something. You go out, you question it, and you find the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great rest of your week. The time of recording this is 9:25 p.m., Wednesday, December 10th. About to start winter break here soon. Hope your listeners are also on winter break and have a great time. It's been real. It's been fun. Thank you all for listening. Hopefully we'll do this again sometime. Peace.